It's so weird hearing somebody that like is dressed like that speak Japanese. That's like one thing that I'm like tripping out on.
My name is Junior Solis, and I'm 23 years old, and I identify as a Chicano.
My name is Ruby Solis. I'm 25 and I identify as Chicana.
I'm Angie Solis. I'm 25 years old and I identify as Chicano.
Hi, my name is Jose Chitala. I'm 21 years old and I identify as Mexican American.
Hi, my name is Esme Acosta. I'm 21 and I am Mexican.
Miki Style, Junichi Shimodaira, and I'm also your host.
Hi everyone. Me llamo Mona, a.k.a.
Miki Style, Junichi Shimodaira, and I'm also your host.
Right there? Yes. Super crazy. Crazy? So are you nervous about people who know what picture loca actually means to use that tattoo? パターンで日本の漢字を入れ Yes.
That's wild.
Crazy? So are you nervous about people who know what picture loca actually means?
That's true. I always see people like freaking out over like Japanese stuff. Like it sells so much here, and it's like it's almost like its own subculture here. But that's just a good point.
こう思ったから私も This is a costume. Yeah, for a president me. I have some Mexican American friends who might see what you're doing and be like,
There was a part in one of the videos where she said, oh, you're adapting something that's known as the worst part of like Chicano culture, and I don't believe that's true. I can understand why she says that, like, you know, there is that cholo aspect of it and stuff like that. But if that's what they like and that's who they are, who's to say that that's the worst part of it?
I like when they said how, I don't know which individual it was, but one of the girls said that even though she feels like she is taking the style and stuff, it made her, like that type of culture and the fashion mixed with the way like they just take things in general was made her respect her family more and stuff, which I think is a big part of like being Chicano.
Man, I think it was a lot to take in. I'm kind of ambivalent about it. There's some aspects I don't like, some aspects I do like. For example, the idea that these people don't know the meaning behind La Virgen Guadalupe. When my mom like places so much faith in La Virgen Guadalupe as a sort of symbol of like when she got really sick, and so it's that kind of struck a chord.
As a person who identifies as Chicana, I don't feel like my culture's being stolen, but it feels like it's more of a celebration of it because it's so stifled still. Even though the term Chicana, Chicano, Chicanx, like it's been thrown around everywhere and people say it more often, the culture and the styles and the way we present ourselves, it's always stifled. Be it by institutions, just people in general, other reference groups that we have, we're always toned down. And I think that's amazing that people that you wouldn't think about in Japan are just like diving into something and they see like the beauty in it, the respect in it, and it's nice to see that. It's nice to see that someone appreciates something that's close to home for me.
Like 60 appreciation and like 40 like just doing it for like, which I mean style is like a big part of it, but like just some of like the things they were saying and how like
Like the thing with the Virgen?
Yeah,
So
like,
she's like, are you Catholic? She's like, no. She's like, I just
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
And that's a little odd.
Like they don't understand, you know, what being Catholic or that symbol of La Virgen is. Like it's crazy to see how although they like it because of the style, but yet they don't understand it. So it's kind of weird.
I think what the reporter said at the end was a really smart way to look at it. It's like in the future, because of like the globalism that exists and like all of the traveling that's being done and how it's become easier and cheaper and how much interest there is, especially in younger generations, and like sort of intermingling. I'm totally like here for it, because sometimes in the societies that we live in, it seems like we can't really change it, so we have to like follow the status quo. So if you find aspects of another culture that you really like, and you kind of want to incorporate those into your life, then that's great. And another point too is just like what it did for women. Like behind the whole issue of like ethnicity and cultural appropriation, there's the issue of like in Japan and Korea, I know with like K-pop groups, like those are also really problematic for a lot of people, because it kind of shows like Asian women as just like this like status of like softness and beauty to be looked at, and so like what it's doing to kind of empower women, giving women in Japan like strong female role models to emulate, like that's really positive.
That jail costume, that one, that's just straight up a costume, and that one just seemed kind of really stretching it, and that one.
I think the reason behind the way that some Chicanos, especially like during the Chicano movement and like in the 90s and early 2000s, like the reason why, one of the reasons why they, especially the men, dressed that way, and the women too, is kind of as a defense mechanism, if anything, because things were difficult in like that second half of the 20th century for minorities, and seeing people kind of dress that way as like, seeing it all like as a positive, as an enjoyable experience, and it really wasn't for a lot of people who dress that way, and who, as you're saying, it's like the kind of the amount of people that were imprisoned and all that, like it could be stretching it a bit,
Honestly, that would be kind of like crazy, because like I feel like at least when I grew up, or like I just felt like a lot of people didn't really appreciate at least Mexicans, and you would always hear like, oh, we're bad people, we should go back to Mexico and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, if that were to happen and people started to embrace our culture more, I'd find it really surprising, just because my whole life I've just been hearing that it's just we're not like people, or just in general, like they don't want anything to do with us. So it's like I would really appreciate it. I mean, I think it would be really awesome. And at the same time, I think it's important for people to have the understanding of like, our history and the meaning behind everything. And I don't think it would be a negative, because I just like, can you imagine if we just like didn't interact with each other and just like completely stayed within our culture? It just seems like unrealistic for people to, stay in their culture. It's like, that just doesn't seem like a fun world to me. Like I think it's like people should be branching out and like experiencing different things, and I don't know. I think it'd be pretty cool.
I don't know how I feel about like this particular sort of set of characteristics being globalized to characterize a Chicano sort of experience. I think it characterizes one Chicano experience, so in that way, like, I wouldn't be offended, because it's like, okay, well, it's not my Chicano experience, but it's like the one of many people, right? They use the term like cholo in there, the kind of sort of like hard kind of gangster resistance culture, when my experience of Chicano was completely different, but that's only because I interacted a lot more with the traditional Mexican side, the kind of religiosity, the banda music instead of the oldies, traveling to Mexico, and instead of kind of like interacting with like the circles in Los Angeles. So I think it'd be a little problematic if like this spread, and I introduced myself as Mexican American around the world, and the assumption is that this was my experience when it really wasn't. So.
I'd like to see the differences, like, or the similarities between how it is here, because we're from East LA, so it's very similar or very familiar to us. So I would want to see how different and how similar it is from here in LA to Japan.
I think it would lose the sort of like meaning behind it, because clearly like these individuals identify with it, and identity is extremely important to to understand and to be aware of your own identity. So I think it would be harder on people who genuinely feel a connection to it. Because the girl, Mona, like, I thought that was hilarious because I've seen that movie and I like identify with that character too. So
Sad girl.
yeah, it was
And her bed was mousy.
it was cool to see that like someone who I would typically think I have nothing in common with feels as strongly about a character and an essence like as I do. But if it were to go mainstream, I feel like then it's just for
I mean, they probably feel the
capitalists.
same way about
About-
K-pop,
Yeah.
like, or just
Yeah.
Japanese things in general. Like, people watching anime here and like reading subtitles for it, like, they're probably like,
Or, like, the
wow, they
manga
don't even know
culture and
the,
stuff,
like,
yeah.
we don't even know, like, I mean, we see their traditions and stuff, but we don't know the true meaning of like why they use chopsticks or like why they
Mhm.
eat in the manner they do and the way they sit when they eat. Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand why they're doing that, but yeah, people are copying it here.
Mhm.